What happens when the very system designed to protect lives becomes a weapon of denial? What drives a man to leave behind cryptic messages like deny, defend, and depose on bullet casings? And how does a CEO of one of the largest insurance companies in the world, Brian Thompson of United Healthcare, find himself at the center of a chilling narrative that ends in assassination? Stay tuned, because this story will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the healthcare industry. On a cold December morning in Midtown Manhattan, tragedy struck the corporate world. Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, was gunned down, the act shrouded in mystery and outrage. While the investigation continues, one thing is clear. This murder has unveiled the grim reality of the American healthcare system, a system that many believe is failing the very people it claims to serve. But to understand the full scope of this story, we need to rewind to November 2023. It was then that the estates of two deceased patients filed a lawsuit against United Healthcare in Minnesota. The allegations were shocking. The insurance giant had been using an AI algorithm, ominously named NNH Predict, to deny claims that had already been approved by doctors. The lawsuit alleged that the algorithm had a staggering 90% error rate, leading to devastating consequences for elderly patients. According to court documents, the company was well aware of the algorithm's inaccuracies, yet it continued to deploy it, overriding the expertise of medical professionals. For the families of the two deceased men, this wasn't just a case of corporate oversight. It was a deliberate act of cruelty. These allegations sparked outrage, with many questioning how a company entrusted with healthcare could prioritize profits over human lives. One might wonder, what was Brian Thompson's role in all of this? As CEO, he was the face of United Healthcare, a man who publicly claimed to be working towards making healthcare more affordable. In a 2023 social media post, Thompson wrote, "We work every day to find ways to make healthcare more affordable, including reducing the cost of life-saving prescription drugs." But the replies to this post painted a very different picture. Entrepreneur Andrea Hospenny accused United Healthcare of failing her mother, depriving her of basic care. Another user highlighted a shocking policy, stating, "Not having a single anesthesiologist in network in the entire state of Montana is a great policy to save you money." And then there was the heartbreaking story of an 86-year-old woman whose Medicare Advantage plan was terminated without notice. These comments reveal a grim reality. For many, United Healthcare's promises were nothing more than empty words. The use of AI in healthcare isn't new, but the controversy surrounding NH Predict struck a nerve. How could a company justify deploying an algorithm that seemingly disregarded the well-being of its patients? And why would it continue to use this technology, knowing the harm it was causing? The lawsuit wasn't just a legal battle. It became a symbol of a broken system, where decisions about life and death were increasingly dictated by profit margins and artificial intelligence. As the lawsuit made its way through the courts, anger towards United Healthcare and its CEO reached a boiling point. The frustration wasn't limited to the families of those directly affected. Across the country, people began to voice their grievances, many taking to social media to criticize Thompson and the company he represented. But the story doesn't end there. In the wake of Thompson's murder, a disturbing trend emerged. Major health insurance companies, fearing for the safety of their executives, began to take down information about their leadership. United Healthcare's About Us page, which once listed the company's top brass, was suddenly altered. Anthem, Blue Cross, Blue Shield followed suit, replacing links to its leadership page with a generic About Us page. What were these companies afraid of? Was it just the unidentified gunman who remained at large? Or was it something bigger, a public that had reached its breaking point? The ripple effects of Brian Thompson's murder spread quickly, revealing a healthcare industry on the defensive. Companies scrambled to protect their executives, not just from potential physical harm, but from the mounting anger of a betrayed public. In the days following the assassination, the nonprofit Medica temporarily shut down its headquarters in Minnesota. A spokesperson candidly admitted, "The safety of Medica employees is our top priority, and we have increased security for all of our employees." It was clear the incident wasn't an isolated event in their eyes. It was a warning. A system built on denial, delay, and bureaucracy had pushed people to their breaking point. and Brian Thompson's death became a grim focal point of that anger. The circumstances surrounding Thompson's murder added a chilling layer of intrigue. The bullet casings left at the scene bore the words, "deny, defend, and depose." For those familiar with the industry, this wasn't just a random act of violence. These words seem to reference a 2010 book exposing the ruthless strategies insurance companies use to deny claims. Whether the killer acted out of personal grievance or as a twisted statement against the industry, the symbolism was unmistakable. Public reaction was equally telling. As news of the murder broke, social media erupted, not with sympathy, but with outrage and bitter satisfaction. People shared harrowing stories of denied claims, failed treatments, and lives lost due to systemic neglect. Even doctors joined in, lambasting the insurance industry for prioritizing profits over patient care. One user's comment summed up the general sentiment. "This message is an example of hypocrisy at its finest. You are denying claims for people who need it." For many, Thompson wasn't seen as a victim, but as a symbol of a deeply flawed system, one that had turned healthcare into a battleground where the sick and vulnerable often lost. The backlash wasn't just digital. The actions of other insurers like Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield only fueled public distrust. Anthem had recently faced outrage for proposing a policy that would cut off anesthesia coverage for procedures that went longer than expected, a decision many saw as prioritizing cost-cutting over patient safety. While the company ultimately walked back the proposal in certain locations, the damage to its reputation was done. Amid this turmoil, one question loomed large. What role did AI play in this crisis? The use of algorithms like NH-Predict wasn't just a technical innovation. It was a fundamental shift in how decisions about healthcare were made. By automating the claims process, companies like United Healthcare sought to streamline operations and cut costs. But in doing so, they stripped away the human element, reducing patients to data points and leaving their fates in the hands of error-prone technology. The lawsuit filed in November 2023 against United Healthcare laid bare the consequences of this approach. The estates of the two deceased patients claimed that NH-Predict had denied care that doctors had explicitly approved. One can only imagine the despair of patients and their families, fighting against a system that seemed indifferent to their suffering. As anger simmered, the industry began to retreat further into secrecy. Leadership bios disappeared from corporate websites, headquarters were locked down, and the question everyone was asking remained unanswered. How did we get here? United Healthcare, like many other insurance giants, had built its empire on promises of affordability and access. But the stories of those who had suffered under its policies told a different tale. From terminated Medicare plans to denied cancer treatments, the pattern was clear. The system wasn't working for the people it was meant to serve. Even before Thompson's murder, the public's trust in the healthcare industry was eroding. But his death brought those frustrations into sharp focus, turning a long simmering crisis into a national conversation. Could this tragedy force the industry to confront its failings? Or would it lead to even greater division, with insurers doubling down on secrecy and self-preservation? As investigators continued their search for Thompson's killer, the broader implications of his death became impossible to ignore. It wasn't just about one man or one company. It was about a system that had lost its way, where profits often outweighed compassion, and innovation came at the expense of humanity. The assassination of Brian Thompson has become more than a shocking crime. It is a grim symbol of a healthcare system spiraling out of control. His death forced many to confront the question, how did we allow our health, our lives to be entrusted to a system that so many feel prioritizes profits over people? To understand the roots of this crisis, we must revisit the broader history of health insurance in America. For decades, insurance companies have been accused of using legal, bureaucratic, and technological means to minimize payouts. The infamous phrase, deny, delay, defend, has been a rallying cry for critics who argue that insurers systematically deny claims, delay resolutions, and defend their decisions in court, leaving policyholders exhausted and defeated. Enter artificial intelligence, a tool heralded as a revolutionary way to streamline operations, but one that came with its own set of ethical dilemmas. For companies like United Healthcare, AI wasn't just a tool, it was a strategy. Algorithms like Predict allowed them to process claims more quickly, but the trade-off was devastating. Patients whose care was denied weren't just numbers. They were real people with real lives, some of whom paid the ultimate price. The lawsuit against United Healthcare shed light on just how broken this system had become. The families of the two deceased men alleged that their loved ones were denied critical care by an algorithm that got it wrong 90% of the time. Imagine being told that a treatment your doctor approved, one that could save or extend your life, was denied by a faceless program. How would you feel? Helpless? Angry? Betrayed? For many, those feelings boiled over into rage. Social media became an outlet for countless stories of suffering, a public record of a system that appeared to care more about cutting costs than saving lives. People like Andrea Huspeni, who accused United Healthcare of failing her mother, voiced their pain and frustration. Cancer patients shared stories of denials that forced them to fight battles on two fronts, one against their disease and another against their insurer. Even doctors, typically bound by professional decorum, began to speak out. Many expressed frustration over how insurers dictated patient care, often overriding medical expertise with cost-cutting measures. It was a system that seemed designed to push people to their breaking points. And then, Brian Thompson was murdered. His death sent shockwaves through the healthcare industry. But it wasn't just the act itself that was chilling, it was the reaction. Instead of an outpouring of sympathy, Thompson's assassination was met with what can only be described as grim vindication by some corners of the public. This is what happens when you play with people's lives, one commenter wrote. The chilling detail of the words etched on the bullet casings, deny, defend, depose, added fuel to the fire. These weren't random words. They reflected years of frustration with an industry accused of using legalese and technology to justify what many saw as inhumane practices. The industry's response to the murder revealed the depth of its fear. Executives went into hiding, corporate websites were scrubbed, and security at headquarters was heightened. While these actions were framed as measures to protect employees, they also spoke to an underlying truth. The healthcare system was losing the trust of the people it served. But the question remains, will this shocking event lead to meaningful change, or will it simply reinforce the status quo? For companies like United Healthcare, the challenges are immense. Transparency, fairness, and a renewed focus on patient care are not just ethical imperatives. They are necessary steps to rebuild trust. The murder of Brian Thompson is a stark reminder of what happens when that trust is broken. This story isn't just about one man or one company. It's about a system that impacts all of us. What do you think? Should AI play a role in decisions about our health? Are insurance companies crossing the line? Or is this just the cost of efficiency? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And for more deep dives into stories that matter, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Together, let's uncover the truths shaping our world.